Well, we were talking about this in our newsroom this morning. People are actually getting plastic surgery to look like Snapchat filters.
If you look historically, sociologically, and philosophically, beauty has always been a commodity for centuries.
Imagine scrolling for 10 minutes and seeing the same face staring back at you over and over again. The same lifted eyes, the same tiny pointed chin, that same poreless doll-like glow. Thousands of different women, somehow all wearing one single face. And no, that's not me being dramatic. It's just what an afternoon on Chinese social media looks like right now. But here's the part nobody tells you. The look you're staring at isn't only happening over there. It's quietly becoming a blueprint for clinics in Los Angeles, in London, in New York. And behind every one of those glowing before and afters sits a story far darker than those perfect little posts will ever let you see. Let's break it down together, chapter by chapter. The single face that took over a country, the fox eye, the bubble eye, the mask face, and then the real human cost underneath all of it. Stick with me to chapter 5 especially, because that's the one that's going to stay with you long after this video ends. Let's start with the big picture, because the scale here is hard to wrap your head around until someone spells it out. Over in China, there's a phrase that's been floating around for years: internet celebrity face. In Mandarin, it's Wang Hong Lian. It describes one very specific look: big rounded eyes, a crisp double eyelid, a high nose bridge, pale glassy skin, and a chin so small and tapered that people nicknamed it the all face, like the sharpened tip of a pencil. Seeing one Chinese influencer can feel like seeing 1,000 of them, and that sameness isn't a coincidence. It was built. Here's where it gets fascinating, because a lot of it traces back to a single photo editing app. The company behind China's most famous beauty filter actually admitted a few years ago that their tools had basically unified everyone's aesthetics into that one internet celebrity face. Picture it, an entire generation slowly editing their selfies toward the same template day after day, then walking into a clinic and asking a surgeon to make that filter permanent. It runs even deeper than filters now. Researchers have pointed out that if you ask certain AI image generators something as simple as, "Show me a young Chinese woman," they'll hand you back that same influencer face. So the template stopped just spreading between people. It got baked right into the machines. It stopped being a choice and became the default. Naturally, the money followed. Reports now put China's medical aesthetics industry around $40 billion, second only to the United States. Back in 2020 alone, roughly 1 million people went under the knife, the majority of them women under 30. Why the rush? Because over there, a pretty face isn't treated as just pretty. It's treated as a career move, a shortcut to a better job, a better marriage, more doors opening. Beauty, repackaged as upward mobility. If that's starting to sound familiar, it should, because we've lived our own version of it. Remember when the writer Gia Tolentino gave us Instagram face? That single, ethnically ambiguous, wide-eyed, full-lipped look every influencer from LA to Dubai drifted toward at once? Same machine, same homogenization. The only real difference is the template it's chasing and the speed. So hold on to this one idea, one face, mass-produced, because every trend we're about to get into grew straight out of it. And the very first one started with something as small as the shape of an eye. Okay, the fox eye. This is where the whole thing really kicks into gear. It started innocently enough. For decades, the most popular cosmetic procedure across much of East Asia has been the double eyelid surgery, a small crease added above the eye to make it look bigger and brighter. It's so normalized that in some families, it's reportedly handed to teenagers as a graduation gift. Nothing scandalous by local standards. But here's the thing about beauty trends. They never sit still. Pretty soon, a simple double eyelid wasn't enough. People wanted bigger, sharper, more dramatic. And that hunger is what gave birth to the fox eye, where the outer corners of the eyes get pulled up and stretched into this long, elongated, almost cat-like shape. On Douyin, the before and after clips pull in millions of views. The more people watched, the more they started to believe their own perfectly normal eyes were somehow the problem. Here's where it gets wild, though. A lot of these surgeries get done with this template mindset, the same cut, the same angle, the same lift, just stamped onto completely different faces. And eyes are not one size fits all. Your eye shape, the structure of your skull, the fat around your eyes, all of it is unique to you. So when you press one rigid template onto everybody, people heal in wild wildly different ways. Some end up with a strange little bulge above the lash line that folks online started calling the meat strip. Some end up with eyes that look permanently startled, and some end up far worse than that. Which is exactly why doctors keep warning, loudly, that the eyelid is one of the most delicate areas on the whole body, almost no margin for error. The stories that stay with you are the ones where the damage simply couldn't be undone, because once tissue is cut away, it can't always be put back. Public discussions have shared cases of women left unable to fully close their eyes, needing drops every few minutes just to feel comfortable. One reported case described a woman whose procedure damaged the muscles around her eyes so badly that she couldn't stop them from watering, not from crying, not from sadness. Her eyes just physically would not stop. If you're thinking this is some faraway problem, it isn't, because the fox eye went global too. Over here in the West, it showed up as the fox eye or cat eye thread lift, the exact look people chased trying to copy models like Bella Hadid. Critics were quick to point out the painful irony. The West was now surgically chasing the very eye shape that East Asian communities had been mocked for generations. Same eyes, opposite sides of the world, everybody reaching for somebody else's face. So that covers the top of the eye. But remember how this started with people wanting bigger, brighter eyes? The next trend took that same craving and pushed it downward to just under the lash line. That's where things start to get really strange. Picture that little puff of fullness that pops up under your eye when you smile, that soft, rounded ridge. In Korean, it's called aegyeosal. In Chinese, it's the lying silkworm. And just to be clear, this is not an eye bag. It's that cute, youthful little cushion that makes your eyes look bigger and softer the moment you grin. On most people, it just sits there quietly in the background, and nobody thinks twice about it. But Chinese social media does not do quietly. What began as a basic makeup trick, a touch of shadow, a dab of highlight to fake that puff, slowly hardened into something permanent. People started injecting filler right under the lower eyelid to build that ridge up artificially. At first, that doesn't even sound that wild, right? Filler's everywhere these days. It's reversible, supposedly low risk in trained, careful hands. This is where it spirals. Real medical grade filler is expensive, so a market of cheap counterfeit knockoffs came flooding into the online marketplaces. Weird packaging, zero oversight, no real way to know what's inside the syringe. Then it went one step further. People stopped going to clinics altogether. They'd watch a 60-second tutorial, grab a mystery product, and inject it into their own faces, at home, in the bathroom mirror, all to save a little money. That's how you end up with what people grimly started calling the bubble eye. Instead of a cute little puff, the under eye balloons out, swollen, shiny, far too big. The complete opposite of the soft, youthful look they were going for. Some of these stories involved infections. Some involved filler that slid and drooped down into other parts of the face. A lot of them involved complications that needed even more procedures just to fix what that first one broke. Now, I want you to sit with how familiar this one is, because over here in the West, under eye filler, what the clinics call tear trough filler, has its own quiet horror story. A lot of the top injectors have started refusing to do it at all. Why? Because they've learned the filler doesn't always dissolve the way everyone was promised. It can hang around for years, it can migrate, and in that thin, fragile under-eye skin, it can puff up and balloon and just stay that way for a decade. Same area, same disappointment, just slower and with a nicer waiting room. The lesson the doctors keep repeating on both sides of the world is basically identical. The skin under your eye is the thinnest on your whole face. It's the single least forgiving place to take a gamble. And yet, somehow, it became one of the most popular places to experiment. But puffy eyes and lifted corners were never the endgame. The deeper obsession was never about any one feature. It was about the whole face, frozen into one flawless, ageless mask. This is the one that unsettles me the most, the mask face. Somewhere along the way, the goal quietly shifted from I want to look prettier to I never want to look like I'm aging at all, ever. On Douyin, an entire trend exploded of people in their 40s, 50s, even 60s getting dramatic facelifts to look decades younger overnight. Some of these clinics were doing what's been nicknamed a fake facelift. Instead of carefully working the deeper layers of the face the way a real surgeon would, they'd just pull the skin tight, stitch it up, and call it a day. That right there is how you get the mask. The wrinkles vanish, sure, but so does the ability to move. The face goes smooth and flat and oddly, eerily still, almost like it's been shrink-wrapped. People describe faces that look like flawless porcelain in a still photo, but turned uncanny the second that person tried to smile or talk or cry. And it gets stranger. There's a companion trend, this one fixated on the mouth, where surgeons lift the corners of the lips so the face looks like it's smiling permanently. They cut and reposition the tiny muscles that normally pull your mouth back down. The pitch is, you'll look approachable, sweet, endlessly cheerful. The reality? Public discussion has shared the story of a woman sitting on a TV talk show while her own mother begged her through tears to please stop getting procedures. And the daughter simply sat there, smiling. Not because she was happy, because she physically could not make her face do anything else. She said she couldn't even cry because the surgery had locked her mouth into that permanent smile. Just imagine that for a second. It isn't only women either, or only the old. One widely shared story followed a young male influencer with over 1 million followers who suddenly vanished, then resurfaced 2 years later in a video, crying, explaining that a facelift meant to make him look younger had aged him well beyond his years. He stopped leaving the house. He was barely in his 30s. The trend that promised everyone their youth back had quietly taken his. Then there's the most extreme version of all, surgically implanting custom, 3D printed medical plastic and screwing it directly onto the facial bones to reshape the entire structure of the face. It started life as a legitimate reconstructive tool. Online, it got rebranded as the permanent anti-aging upgrade. Reported complications include implants that shifted out of place or left people struggling to even chew properly afterward. Now here's your Western mirror, and this one is crystal clear. We've got a clinical name for it already. Facial overfilled syndrome, the pillow face. Same outcome, just built with syringes instead of scalpels. Think about that endless online debate around overfilled celebrities, the puffy, swollen, doesn't quite move look that set the internet off whenever a star turned up to an awards show looking strangely frozen. Doctors will tell you flat out that too much filler packed into the midface can actually restrict the very muscles you smile with. Same frozen result. The whole world, it turns out, is quietly chasing youth from every direction and accidentally trading away its own expressions to get there. That trade, right there, that's the single thread tying every one of these trends together, because somebody always ends up paying for it. So let's talk about who. This is the chapter I really need you to hear. So stay with me. Here's what those glowing before and afters never show you. The after is almost never the end. For so many of these women, it's the beginning of a cycle. One procedure suddenly reveals a brand new flaw. Fixing that flaw quietly creates another.
I do microblade my eyebrows. The last time I did it was in Derry, Ireland. My lipstick I've worn for years. I don't ever change it.
And before you know it, you're trapped in what surgeons quietly call the revision spiral. Fixing the fix, that needs another fix, that needs another one after that. There are women who've shared that at a certain point, they couldn't even remember what the original problem was supposed to be anymore. Let me tell you about one woman whose story actually made international news. She was in her late 20s when the injections she got hardened underneath her skin. Every single attempt to correct it just made things worse. More procedures, more scars, lasting pain. And when a reporter asked her how she felt about it all now, she said something I have not been able to shake since I read it. She said that if she could simply go back to the way she looked before any of it, she'd be perfectly happy. That's it. That's all. After everything she'd been through, she just wanted her old face back. That's the part that breaks my heart, because the regret almost always takes the same shape. It's never, I wish it had come out looking better. It's, I wish I had never started in the first place. Here's a detail that stuck with me. In some online communities, the women weren't even hiding it. They'd formed little groups, almost like a club, openly comparing which procedure each was getting next, like leveling up a character in a video game. What are you upgrading this month? It's easy to judge that from the outside, but it isn't vanity. It's a whole group of people sold the same lie, that they were a project never quite finished, never quite good enough, who found each other inside it. There's something quietly heartbreaking about that. Then there's the financial trap layered right underneath it. Some of these beauty apps actually offer microloans, letting you finance an entirely new face in convenient monthly installments. So women are literally going into debt chasing a look that, in plenty of these cases, leaves them worse off than where they started. Insecurity turned into a payment plan, and then there's the part that's hardest to talk about, which is just how young this reaches. One of the most widely discussed stories to come out of China is about how early some patients now begin. pressure arriving in childhood, sometimes pushed along by the very adults who were supposed to be protecting them, sometimes by cruel classmates, sometimes by an algorithm that simply rewards transformation. At its core, it has almost nothing to do with vanity. It's about a kid being told over and over again that who she already was simply wasn't enough. And that's exactly why regulators have started cracking down on cosmetic advertising aimed at minors, because the system had started reaching them far too young. This isn't a "those people over there" problem either. Surveys of cosmetic patients suggest a real share are quietly wrestling with much deeper body image distress, not a passing whim. And most surgeons now report patients coming back again and again for revisions, because some new trend told them last year's face was already out of date. That's not beauty, that's a treadmill, and it runs in every language. So if all of this is this risky, you have to ask the obvious question, right? Why does it keep happening? Who's actually keeping this whole machine running? Because somebody, somewhere, is profiting off every single one of these faces. The uncomfortable answer? Almost everybody in the chain has a reason to keep it spinning. Start with the algorithm. Dramatic transformations are pure engagement fuel, a jaw-dropping before and after rakes in the views and the shares. So platforms quietly reward the most extreme content there is. The more shocking the change, the more of the internet sees it, and the more people see it, the more weirdly normal it starts to feel. Then add the influencers. A huge number of these so-called tutorials come from people with zero medical training, casually chatting about cutting and injecting like it's just another step in a skincare routine. And here's the problem. When you watch somebody you already trust do something that casually, your brain files it under safe. It is not safe, but it feels that way. Then there are the surgery marketplace apps. And this is the part that surprised me the most. Over in China, you can open an app and scroll procedures the same way you'd scroll a food delivery menu. Then grab a discount bundle, buy one, get one, holiday flash sales, package deals. Some even come with a built-in face scanner that analyzes your selfie and lists everything supposedly wrong with your face, conveniently matched to the procedures it wants to sell you. Imagine an app whose entire business model is finding fresh new reasons for you to hate your own reflection. Underneath all of it sits the part that worries regulators the most. The unlicensed operators. People setting up shops that look like sleek professional clinics on the surface, but are run by staff who aren't qualified surgeons at all, sometimes using those exact cheap counterfeit products from earlier. Looks completely professional, is anything but. And here's the real kicker. This is just a faster, louder version of the same loop we already know in the West. The filter makes you compare. The comparison makes you insecure. The insecurity gets sold a syringe. Then the result needs maintenance, which needs more money, which needs another appointment, on and on. China didn't invent this engine. It's just running it with far less friction and far less regulation. For now, because the story is actually starting to turn, and that turn might just be the most hopeful part of this whole thing. After years of this growing almost completely unchecked, the pushback has finally arrived, and it's coming from two very different directions at once. Inside China, multiple agencies launched a coordinated crackdown, tightening who's allowed to operate, going after counterfeit products, clamping down on the misleading before and afters. They went specifically after advertising designed to manufacture what officials there literally call appearance anxiety, ads that imply you need surgery to succeed at work or in love. Platforms like Xiaohongshu reportedly pulled down hundreds of thousands of accounts tied to illegal beauty promotions. And the doctors got louder and blunter, hammering one message. These are real medical procedures, not lunch break errands, and they belong with trained professionals, not in a salon, and definitely not at your own bathroom sink. Over on the Western side, the culture itself began to shift. That whole Instagram face era is visibly cracking. There are now hundreds of thousands of videos online of people doing the opposite of what we all watched 5 years ago, dissolving their filler, reversing the work, choosing soft and natural over more and more and more. Injectors describe a clear move away from more is more toward a quieter, less is more approach. Slowly but surely, people are falling back in love with the idea of just looking like themselves again. But I want to be honest with you, because this isn't a clean, tidy, happy ending. The pressure didn't disappear, it just got more sophisticated. The same forces that built every one of these trends are more than capable of building the next one. So the real question was never whether the fox eye or the bubble eye or the mask face fades out. It's whether the deeper conversation about safety, about regulation, about simply being allowed to look like a human being who has lived a life keeps growing loud enough to truly protect people. Trends will always change. The only question that matters is whether we get wiser faster than they do. So here's where all of this leaves us. One single mass-produced face, a fox eye that promised drama and sometimes quietly stole away the ability to blink. A cute little under-eye puff that ballooned into something nobody ever wanted. A mask of eternal youth that, in the end, erased the simple ability to smile. And underneath every bit of it, real women, carrying real regret, so many of them whispering that same quiet wish, I just want my old face back. Maybe that's the one thing worth holding on to here, because these trends were never really about China or the West or any single app. They're about one quiet question every one of us scrolls right past 100 times a day. How much of yourself would you really trade just to look like everyone else? It makes you wonder what the next big look will be and whether this time around we might finally choose ourselves before the algorithm gets to choose for us. If this opened your eyes to what's really going on behind those perfect little posts, go ahead and subscribe to Union Stories. For the real human stories the rest of the world just keeps scrolling past.